The Guardians, a 2017 Russian superhero flick, not to be confused with the Guardians of the Galaxy. I remember seeing the trailer and thinking, what? I wonder what happened to it.
Oh, that movie? Yeah, the Russian government ended up suing the production company.
What?
And it was listed as one of the worst movies of all time.
Really?
And the sequel was canceled because of Deadpool 2.
Oh my.
Salutations! I am Detective Mio.
And I am Inspector Keto. And this is Guardians, a superhero film that, despite gaining a few loyal overseas viewers, became one of the most hated films in all of Russia.
On, guards are down. My feelings gone.
What a nice opening sequence. It sure would be a shame if it preceded a truly awful movie.
Including company logos and opening credits, the intro is about 4 minutes long. Not saying that's too long, but it is 4 minutes.
The movie starts off with a weapons test that involves AI and four-legged gun machines, which means things more than likely will not go well.
Now, the weapons test does start off okay, but then the machines start attacking, and people die, and it's a big mess. Surprisingly enough, the CGI isn't the worst I've ever seen. It's actually okay. They kinda cooked.
Let him cook! Let him cook now! Let him cook!
Turns out the machines were being controlled by someone who looks like a Russian Wade Wilson in a muscle suit, and his name is Kurlatov.
And he looks a little bit like Bane.
Not the worst opening for a movie, but there's a lot to digest.
Like the fact that these four-legged AI tank machines are even possible to mass produce.
In the present day, there's a little briefing from this guy. Remember his face, he'll do something important later. And we learned that back in the 40s, the Russians had a program called Patriot.
Kuratov worked on something called Module 1 that was supposed to control all technology, but failed. Then he got jelly, that is to say, he got jealous of his co-worker who was making weird super soldiers and was getting good results.
So Kuratov did the only logical thing and started doing unethical experiments on innocent people, and the government stepped in to stop him.
Unfortunately, Kuratov rigged his lab to explode, and he was showered in chemicals that turned him into a force of one! Which I assume means he's very strong?
The Russian government stands no chance against him. None at all, apparently. So the only thing they can do is find the human test victims, Kuratov's experiments, and convince them to help save the world. How riveting. Meanwhile, Kuratov is walking around, doing things.
Unfortunately, the CGI and green screen is getting worse. It's underdone, a smidge doughy.
This woman, a rather uninteresting blonde female Nick Fury, who walks funny, asks what the name of her mission is, and then we get the title card for a second time. Boo! Interrupting Keto here. One of the companies seen in the opening montage thing has quite the interesting story behind it.
Enjoy Movies had been quite the successful company. They placed first on the list of Russia's most successful production companies in 2012, and then partnered with Anakin Skywalker to do some microfilms in 2013. I couldn't find any more information on that, but I'm sure it was very interesting.
But after Guardians released in February 2017, the company claimed bankruptcy in July the same year.
Oh no!
Then they claimed they were out of bankruptcy in November the same year.
Huh?
But the company hasn't released any movies since.
They also got sued by the Russian government for not paying back the money the government gave them to make Guardians, so that's kind of wild.
We can't find any more details surrounding the case, but if I had to hazard a guess, the Russian government got the money.
But back to the movie. Patriot starts looking for the Guardians by looking for bizarre stories in yellow media. And against all odds, they do find them.
For those who don't know, yellow media just means unreliable news sources like tabloids, magazines, CNN, Fox News.
They first find Lair, who is a Catholic and can control rocks. He's dressed as like an Assassin's Creed character and has a bone to pick with Kuratov. Although, he claims that he was a guinea pig of Patriot, not Kuratov, so that's a little confusing.
I guess Kuratov worked with Patriot, but somehow he's blaming only Patriot but not Kuratov. Don't know how that works. Lau thinks that Kuratov is dead, but the music sting shows his surprise at learning that Kuratov continues to live.
I've come here to offer you an opportunity for revenge.
Revenge? It's too late, they're gone. All the enemies I know are dead.
August Kuratov's alive.
I knew it.
No, never mind.
In a dry area in Pakistan, the ninja Speedy Gonzalez is just chilling around until dudes in suits drive up on him for some reason, and they have guns. They look pretty serious. They might be here to kill him.
The ninja Speedy Gonzalez's name is Khan. Speedy Gonzalez, and he moves super fast, so the world appears in slow-mo. Obviously, this power is OP, and is never utilized properly. Hashtag your average speedster.
He slices an SUV in half with his oversized gardening tools and freaking kills everyone. They're all dead, deceased, no longer breathing, 6 feet underground. All of them will never return and never wake up again. Their eyes are closed permanently.
Lair shows up and is like, hey, I'm putting together a crew. You in? And Khan is completely unfazed by the fact that Kuratov is still alive and appeared out of nowhere, so he's all like, yeah, I guess. And then they leave to go find the next member of their team.
Khan and Lair and female Nick Fury go to the forest in Siberia and harass a man until he turns into a bear man and starts throwing people. It looks really bad, very doughy, and the posing they constantly do reminds you of what kind of movie you're watching.
An Avengers ripoff from Russia. The bear man is actually a man who can turn into a bear man, and his name is Arsus.
Among Us? The next and thankfully last member of the team is Ksenia, and because we're not too confident about how we're saying that name, we're just gonna call her K. She is a circus performer who can turn invisible, but only when she's covered in water? Apparently she's one of the Guardians, but when they pop up she attacks them in a truly bizarre scene with even more bizarre choreography.
For some reason they're all just sitting menacingly around in a room, and they expect her not to panic?
Ксения, мы знаем тебя.
Turns out she has no memory of her earlier life, and I'm sure there'll be a riveting plotline later. Meanwhile, the bad guy is talking to his clone army. That's right, he has a clone army.
Bad guy has reached stage 2, he has clone army now. Better than robots, I guess. Oh, he has those too, never mind.
Back with the good people, Kay's explaining her tragic backstory, and Russian woman Nick Fury makes some rather strange and hard to understand expressions. Then Kay agrees to join the Guardians.
Shortly thereafter, they manage to track down Kuratov, and they move in to attack. Luckily, it's raining, so Kay's powers actually do work, and she's not completely useless. Although I do wonder why her clothes turn invisible. That will become a point of contention later.
However, the signal they're using to communicate is being jammed. Oh well, Pob's not a trap, so they keep on sneaking.
But, oh no! Turns out that the goons had infrared and shoot the pipes and completely freeze Kay, probably killing her!
Despite the first casualty that no one knew about because the signal was jammed, the Guardians start attacking everyone, which includes some more underbaked CGI for the rock guy and the bear guy. I really do feel like the super fast guy could, take down everyone on his own, but I guess not.
Speedy Gonzalez gets hit by a trank because he didn't react fast enough. And even though he threw a random knife into the guy's head, it's too late. He's gone to Sleepy Town.
The bear guy just gets netted like an animal, and Lur gets his back broken. Why it peak so much?
I don't know.
And look, gets his back broken by Kuratov, further cementing the fact that he's definitely Bane-inspired.
By the way, I don't know if these soldiers are the clones that Kuratov mentioned earlier, because they're all wearing masks.
That's what the mask is. That's what the point of the mask is.
Oh, my bad, Kate is still alive, and Kuratov tells the Guardians that they should team up with him within 24 hours, or else. While he's waiting patiently for their answer, he mobilizes tanks to invade Moscow.
Turns out this guy, whose face you should have remembered, is actually a backstabbing little fish who let the Guardians get captured. But it doesn't matter, because Kuratov just kills him, sends him 6 feet under, ends his life, ceases his breathing, sends his soul to heaven. He kills him, he's dead, Jim, and uses helicopters to lift up this tower for some unknown reason.
Checking back in with La, his back is still broken. That's pretty sad. He tells Russian woman of his memories of his daughter and his daughter's kids, and basically how he outlived his whole family. It's actually a pretty good scene on its own, but the writers don't even try to make the scene relevant to anything in the movie. They were unfortunately hyper-focused on making a rather not a good superhero film.
All good elements in this movie got sniped in GTA, because it's freaking wasted.
The other doctor that was mentioned in the beginning of the movie, the dude that Kuratov was jelly of, conveniently pops up in a montage starts of the SHIELD Patriot agents rescuing the captured Guardian members, while the other doctor heals Lur by doing things to him.
Healing things, nothing malicious, I'm sure.
You should get ready for the storm.
That line was written by a human being in a movie in the modern age.
Meanwhile, Kuratov uses a bunch of helicopters and tanks and stuff to move a tower that he'll use to activate his master plan.
The bear dude is waiting to talk to the professor once he's done tinkering with Lair, but Agent Lady decides it's time to get surprisingly personal for a military/government woman. He spills his beans and secrets kinda randomly afterwards.
First, he mentions that he's been watching over the Invisigirl Kay, kinda creepy, not gonna lie, for a long time, and I suppose he's making sure that she's safe.
Once again, hopefully nothing malicious.
Then he randomly starts talking about his transformation and how it's getting more and more difficult. He said that when he goes bear mode, he loses his human mind, and when he comes back, he still feels like an animal. He doesn't know how much time he has left before he can't turn back into a human, or something like that.
To sum it all up, he can barely hold on.
Oh my gosh.
It doesn't play into the plot in any meaningful way. I'm guessing they just really needed to reach that hour-and-a-half mark so it could be truly a feature, or they just forgot about it later.
Victor, the scientist dude that Kurtov doesn't like, I just remembered his name, is for some reason left alone in an unguarded room, and Kurtov walks in and confronts him.
Kuratov asks, why? Why? Victor betrayed him, and Victor responds, he never betrayed him. Riveting!
Past that point, the English dub completely diverges from what the English sub says, so that's pretty confusing and very hard to follow.
Kuratov leaves, gassing Victor, presumably to death.
Kurtov's plan, as it turns out, is to create a set piece that in no way, shape, or form rips off the Stark Tower from the Avengers and use Module 2 to control a super weapon satellite called Hammer, as well as take over every single military satellite in the world.
That will apparently allow him to control all technology in the world!
The heroes work this out in a broken up conversation, but they needlessly interrupt each other.
Extremely powerful transmitter and a huge antenna. It would have to be the size of...
Donkano Tower.
You're over 900 meters, and that could create a giant...
antenna.
Military jets attack Kuratov's tower antenna. That's a lot of T's. But to the surprise of absolutely nobody, the mission fails. Silly mission.
Speedy Gonzalez watches all of this happen, and then he spills his sob story to Lady Nick Fury. I give points to this movie for trying to have repeating themes, I suppose.
If I may quote the great George Lucas, it's like poetry, it rhymes. Anyway, according to him, he and his older brother were really good at sword fighting and martial arts, but over time, his older brother would always defeat him. Then, Speedy met Kuratov, who promised to make him unbeatable. After getting his superpowers, he challenged his brother again, but lost control and killed him. Much sadness.
How's this played into the overall story, you might ask? Not at all! It's time to suit up!
Patriot made each of these goobers special suits for their powers, including Bearman. He gets a backpack with a gun that locks onto whatever he focuses his aggression towards. It even works when he doesn't have the backpack on for some reason.
Khan gets a suit that protects him against all kinds of physical damage, which is kind of OP, not gonna lie, why not give that to everyone else? But he also gets much smaller, less stupid looking weapons.
Lair has a suit with rocks on it, so he won't run out of rocks. Arguably more helpful, they give him an electro rock shock whip thing.
Kay gets a suit that can make her invisible without water, so that's pretty cool. It makes her much less useless. She can also turn things she touches invisible.
Which really makes you wonder, is that an upgrade at all because her clothes turned invisible before? How does that work?
Also, the fact that one suit changes how her powers work so much makes one wonder why they included the whole water thing in the first place.
Why not just give her these powers to start off with?
It doesn't matter. A training montage that shows all of them practicing using their new super suits plays out.
Afterwards, they all pose in the cheesiest way possible. It literally looks like just blocks of cheddar.
The motherland will be proud.
They plan for a bit and then start fighting in Moscow. The plan is they'll get to the tower, defeat Kuratov, turn off the shield, and then bail while the government destroys the tower with missiles.
While Khan waits to drop in from the air for some reason, the rest start the offensive. La is doing much better, I suppose, and the gun that Arceus has is coming in handy. And Kay... bless her heart, she tries.
Arceus goes full bear mode, and you better check the temperature of that oven, cause it's just dough, it's not done. CGI, not improved.
We randomly cut to Lady Nick Fury finding the professor. He's also somehow alive. Back to the heroes.
They meet up, and the bear man's pants are back.
Oh my gosh, he's got magic pants.
While crossing a cable bridge, they come under fire from some clone soldiers. The soldiers are all terrible shots, but I'm sure they'll hit them eventually.
Khan finally jumps and takes down the baddies, once again showing that he's obviously the most overpowered one in the group. The compositing here is a little bit rough, very underdone, just dough, maybe just flour.
Back with Lady Nick Fury, the professor drops the bombshell that he figured out that the Guardians can transfer energy to one another and become super powerful, even though doing that is apparently very complex and very dangerous.
There's absolutely no build-up to this. It comes out of absolutely nowhere, and we don't know how he figured it out. The Guardians shut the shield down by having the girl short-circuit the thing. Ayo?
Then they face off against Kuratov, while Lady Nick Fury tries to delay the government's airstrike.
The Guardians start to attack, but get absolutely clapped by Kuratov. The fight scene is incredibly lame, but even lamer is just how badly they do against Kuratov.
Khan barely tries, and anytime it seems like they're powering up to do something dramatic, they just get single tapped.
Oh, really? Wow. Well, that's unfortunate.
The government decides that 4 Guardians are acceptable losses and launches a strike. The lead lady leaves to do something or other, and all the staff looks disappointed and downtrodden.
Yet no one tries to radio the Guardians or do anything. And not even a little, heads up, a careful missile's gun coming. Nope, just leave him to die. True friends.
After the Batman loses his pants again and subsequently gets beaten again, Khan spies a plane flying by, minding his own business, and turns his weapon into a grappling hook thing, manages to get all his friends off the tower.
But Kuratov messes with the plane, causing the Guardians to have to abandon ship and dive into a lake, and for the innocent pilot to die in an unceremonious ball of fire.
Oh no, how terrible! That's just awful! How terrible! Oh no!
The Guardians emerge from the water they fell into. Arceus has pads again, and Nick Fury tells them that they can do some kind of fusion dance or something. They start touching each other, and they create a giant energy ball that hits Kuratov's tower, defeating him once and for all.
Then, after talking about friendship and other crap, the Guardians return to their original boring lives, but will come back if they are ever needed.
But wait! There are more superhumans out there, and we get a post-credit scene that means basically nothing.
Who sent you?
Ferrum.
The end. Well, that happened. As you might be able to guess, the reception of this movie was not positive.
The American critics were plenty harsh, and so were the critics in India, but no one was as harsh and scathing and unforgiving in their reviews as the Russian people themselves.
Not only were there dismal reviews from everyone, but a Russian domestic news agency put Guardians on the top of the list of the worst movies of all time.
Russians aren't known for making the greatest movies, so that's pretty bad.
As for our thoughts, how about a quick review?
Music.
The music was fine. They actually commissioned an original song or created an original song for the film, so that's an extra bit of effort they didn't have to do.
Some of the special effects are okay for the most part. I mean, obviously it gets worse later, but some of it's not too bad.
And the acting isn't the worst we've ever seen.
Now, as for the bad things, the CGI is not very good. It's pretty bad, to the point where it would have been better if they had just done something that didn't require so much CGI. Maybe more practical effects, perhaps?
They spent a lot of money on the CGI, I'm sure, and it just ended up making it look cheap. And the acting, while not the worst, like we said, is not particularly good.
Though most of the blame could be put on the director, as I don't think he directed them particularly well. The story is also very uninteresting and, not very original at all, making it rather forgettable.
That's probably the biggest problem with the movie. Like, even if everything turned out perfectly well, the CGI and the acting was good, it just would have been a generic superhero film.
And no one would have remembered it.
People oftentimes, at least on the internet, compare the movie to Fantastic Four, the 2016 movie. But I don't know because we haven't seen it.
And if this video gets 100 likes, we'll watch that movie in the future. So like and subscribe! Anyway, some of you might be surprised that the rumors of The Guardians being a bad movie are actually quite true. But if you think you'll enjoy the movie, feel free to go check it out on Tubi for free.
You may also be surprised to learn that the company was confident enough to plan a sequel for the movie before it was even released.
it would feature a new Chinese superhero, probably to appeal to the audience in China, since one of the big distribution companies, Turbo Films, behind the project was in fact Chinese in origin.
Turbo Films would be a co-producer for the sequel if it ever got made.
Despite Enjoy Films being sued by the government in 2017, the director Sarek Andreasen, don't know if I'm saying it right, said on Instagram, "We're discussing the second part. We're thinking of which heroes to kill."
Oh my! When 2020 rolled around and people were asking, what happened to the sequel? Sarek said that Deadpool 2 had too similar of a script and was to blame for everything.
Apparently, the Ferrum guy mentioned in the post-credit scene was going to be too similar to Juggernaut, even though, Juggernaut already existed in the comic books, but whatever, and the Rescue the Child storyline was too similar.
It was also going to kill off the old Guardians and replace them with new ones, with Khan being the only original member. So the movie was going to be presumably darker in nature.
I can't say the sequel sounds particularly interesting, but it would be kind of, fun, I guess, if the Guardians made a return out of nowhere after like 8 years.
That concludes our investigation, and thank you for watching to the end of the video.
If you want to watch another one, check out this video about the weird alien ripoff called Terminator 2.
Or this video where we explore the history of Deadpool fan films.
Until we see you there, he is Detective Mio.
And he is Inspector Keto.
I hope that you have a blessed day.
Bye! But a Russian domestic news agent...
Stuff about.
But a Russian domestic news agent...
Start again. No. Then go. Keep on going. Start again.
Keep on going. Start again. You're hopeless.